The chicken feed companies don't want you to hear this message. So make sure you take a good listen. You might be like us, and now you might own one too many chickens. And when I say one too many chickens, I mean 20 too many chickens. Can you actually have enough of these things? So that means you are starting to pay a little bit too much money to feed these chickens with some chicken feed that you get from the store. And now you have the problem that you're going to the stores, having to buy more and more feed. It might be starting to get too expensive to feed all these chickens that you start trying to get every single time spring comes around, which starting to happen again, and we're already thinking about, yeah, more chickens are on their way. And the last thing that you want to do is get rid of chickens. You want to keep as many chickens as you can. So today, let's learn the hack that makes you spend about half the cost and you get double the feed. You're gonna love this one. So like many normal chicken owners out there, you might be going to the store buying those bags of feed and you get a whole bunch of this. You get some really either organic, non-organic, whatever you can afford. You get it in all this just dry feed. We like to use this one. As you can see, it has a lot of just like pieces of corn, sunflower seeds, peas. It has a lot of full pieces in there, which we do love to add into the feed. And although if you pour feed like this, the chickens will eat it. Today though, I want to teach you guys the trick to make this feed stretch even longer, and it's actually going to be really good for them as well. Let's start talking about fermenting feed. So when I first started looking into how to ferment this, it seemed very overwhelming. I thought maybe I was going to mess it up. Is it going to end up molding? Am I going to waste more than I would actually like to be able to actually expand it? And then for us, we found the easiest solution for any beginners who've never fermented chicken feed before. And it's actually been a true game changer for us whenever we want to give fermented feed to our chickens. So we went onto Amazon and we bought this right here. This is a 1 gallon container that has a fermenting lid on the top. So all you're gonna have to do is do the feed and the water, and this jar is gonna do all the rest of the work. I will put the link to this on Amazon in the description below. This is not a paid sponsor or anything. This is just something that we found that was really helpful and easy to learn how to ferment our own feed for our chickens. And if you don't have many chickens, one of these is gonna do just the perfect amount. You might need 2 like we do if you have multiple chickens. So now let's go through the process on how easy it is to use this. First, take the lid off. Very easy. 2, we're gonna dump some feed inside it. I never want to fill this halfway when I do it because you're gonna see it's gonna easily double at least in size. So I make sure it is a little bit under half, and as soon as I have all that, we're ready to start adding water to it, which we'll go to the next step, so let's go do that. Now that we're back inside, we have this feed that is in this jar. We need to add water to it to start the fermenting process. So when I go to put water into this container, I'm looking to try to put at least still 1 inch, probably a layer of water greater than however much feed is in here, which you can see it's going to start to expand pretty quick already, and then it'll do more expanding as you go, so you may have to add more water. So I'm going to put some water in here at first just so you get the idea, and then we'll keep going through the process. So if you can kind of see, you can see kind of here's the feed line, and I have about 1 extra inch here of water. But before I say, okay, this is all good to go, you want to get a good stir because this feed compacts, so you want water to make sure it gets all in all the feed that's going on. So we're going to do a stir, and that's probably going to make us have to put more water in, which you'll see here. Alright, it's might be a little bit hard for you to tell, but it doesn't look too bad. Just knowing how much it is going to expand, I am going to add just a little bit more water to this. Then we're going to set it over on the counter, and then we're going to let the fermenting process start. And you're going to see how easy it is when you have a jar that does all the work for you. I did add this red tape line here so that you guys could see by the end of all this how much feed you're gaining. This is where the feed started. We've probably gained a little over an inch of feed at this second. And this was actually after pouring the water in, so it was probably actually a little bit lower is where the feed actually started, but that's okay. It's still gonna show you guys how much can it expand. So now what we're gonna do is give it another good stir here on day number 2. Fill it with some more water and we'll come back and you'll see by day number 3, the fermenting will really be in process and you'll see how much this is expanded. This time I gave myself that extra like 1.5 inches, 2 inches of water because I know that as soon as this process starts it wants to keep working, so we'll come back, we'll see how this looks tomorrow. It is now day number 3 and as you can see this tape kind of represented the line that where this feed was at when I first dumped it in originally just a couple days ago. Now from here to here, this has doubled in size and it's gonna be such better nutrition for these chickens. And I didn't have to do anything other than to occasionally stir once or twice a day, add water when needed. And the fermenting lid on top of this 1 gallon glass jar did all the work for me and I didn't have to stress about it. Now the chickens are the ones that benefit the most from it. So let's feed these chickens so now you guys can see how much they enjoy the fermented feed as well. Not just it looks good and sounds good. They actually truly do love it. I know right now financially some things can be very tough for people. So you are trying to find a way to save a few dollars any way that you can. Fermenting feed does exactly that for you. This was half the amount of feed that we would have fed this flock inside that jar to start. And now this is not only double the amount of feed, but fermented feed actually fills up your chickens a lot better where they don't need to eat as much. So these chickens will peck at this and they're actually gonna end up leaving some of it and then having to come back later on and eat. Where normally if we were going to dump this dry feed right here, they would eat all this up and still be hungry. They're lucky. For video demonstrations, they got a little extra feed out of me. But because of the nutrients that it gains from the fermenting process and the water that builds up in this feed, it's actually going to fill their tummies a lot better and you're gonna have happier chickens because of it. There is supposedly a thing out there, I don't know how much full truth there is. Yes, if the chickens are getting a lot of nutrients and they're feeling well fed, that they could be laying eggs better for you. I don't know if we've necessarily seen that ourselves, but it could be true. Let's see how many eggs we got in here. 1, 2, 3. 3 eggs in the nesting box, and then they do like to lay inside the coop, so let's take a peek. And we got 2 more inside there, so 5 eggs isn't that bad. And of course, right now, if you're going through the egg crisis like everybody else is, you're gonna be happy to see any kind of eggs in there, so good job, chickens. We love to minimize the amount of work if possible. Fermenting feed was something that was very overwhelming at first for us about how do you do this? How do you make sure that the food's not gonna go bad, not gonna mold? This container right here made it so much easier, and I think that you guys will too. I didn't really explain it very well, but if you saw, I still had a lot of water still sitting at the top of this. What you really should do is save that bit of water that you have at the top afterwards, pour it into a different container, and use it for the next time that you go to ferment, because it's already went through the fermenting process and it's actually going to help ferment your feed faster the next time around. But you can see these are happy chickens. They're loving it. They're eating all of it. And I poured that dry feed over there. Here's all the chickens that are still eating this wet feed. And here's the chickens that are eating the dry feed. So your chickens are going to prefer the fermented feed. Everyone just say sorry to those chickens because I only did 1 fermented feed this time instead of 2, so these guys, they didn't get any this time around. Sorry guys, sorry. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, They comfort me. Have a great day and a better tomorrow. God bless you guys.